Yes, we are.
Hey, Paul and Tamika, how's it going?
Hey, finding you.
Good.
Things are good here, working away.
Lots of moving parts for Miami commercial over the next 30 days, right, Paul?
Yeah, we have a big commercial conference, which we already have over 150 people registered for, which is amazing.
That
That's,
is congratulations to everybody who's working so hard on that, especially you, Paul.
and we're excited. Next week, we have Commercial Marketplace with Silicon Valley at 1 o'clock on Thursday. And in that morning, we have a What's New in Lauderhill with the mayor, commissioner, and the EDC, Economic Development in Lauderhill. So that is they're very interested in engaging with our members, particularly our commercial members. So there's a lot going on in South Florida, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, I think that commercial haves and wants with Silicon Valley is going to be just great to get, for them to get a look at South Florida and for us to get a look at the Silicon Valley Northern California market. They're going to do a really good presentation, and we have the Beacon Council, James Comstam, who's going to do a presentation on our end with some supplementary comments from others. I think so that's going to be great, and then who knows, maybe we'll get some additional investment flow from there to here to
Yeah,
make some
I
transactions
spoke
happen.
I spoke with James yesterday, and it was he asked me, because he did a presentation for us for Toronto, and what I think I might have him do, uh, a little teaser here, is have him do some slides on how on our fintech and technology and cryptocurrency presence here in South Florida, so we can battle it out with Silicon Valley, Northern
I think
California.
that's a great idea to add that in there and sort of prime everybody for the October 1st commercial conference coming up, which is going to address that in detail in terms of the crypto and the fintech. So that's great.
That's awesome. I just saw Bob Gillespie pop in here and pop out, so hopefully he comes back in. But he's our guest speaker today.
Yeah, hopefully, as you said, Jennifer Wallman and Liz Sturrock can sign on and talk about the commercial reach program that NAR and Miami Realtors is funding and working on to advance the technology components of basically disruptors and innovators in the commercial real estate space. So that's going to be great. Looking forward to that.
I know next year's president, Michael Hinton, is really interested in the reach, the commercial reach, and the tools and technology, and wants to get involved as well. Jennifer's involved. So there's some really interesting companies which we're going to be showcasing at the commercial conference, and also that we're going to be showcasing here on Clubhouse. We had Marissa from Otso last month, so that was great.
Yeah,
Mika,
she had a very interesting, really niche that they filled, where they would provide, basically support, take the risk off of landlords, the risk of tenant default, by basically having the backing to provide basically insurance against default for different tenants, just for a slight additional premium, rent premium. So it sort of takes that whole risk and responsibility away from the landlord and the tenant too, and puts it on the third party OTSO. And the tenant pays a small insurance premium for that benefit and then doesn't have to come out of pocket for a security deposit and conserve their cash to utilize within their own business instead of giving it to the landlord for 5 years or whatever it is. So it's interesting how these solutions just sort of evolve with these insightful entrepreneurs And that's really what Reach is all about, is identifying which which companies and which concepts have the best chance of success, and then supporting them um, to fruition. So it'll be interesting to see what Bob Gillespie has to say about that whole process.
Tamika, is there a way to
Yeah,
invite him
I
specifically?
I just
Because
sent
I
him an
saw him,
invite.
he popped in here and he really knows. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
he's been there.
okay. So what is his okay, so let me see.
I can find it too.
Yeah,
Because I know that I saw him a second ago.
yeah.
And do we need his handle? I'll let you know because he just.
I see him. I just invited him to speak. Let me see
Oh,
if we
you
can,
did good.
if he accepts the invitation.
He's in the audience.
Yeah, I see him now. There he is. Awesome timing.
Hey,
Yeah.
sorry guys. I joined like 5 times and like I could hear you. I would hear like a person say a syllable and that would dump me out of the app, and then I in and out, and then I finally got connected and I seem to be okay now.
You have to earn your stripes. So I took 5
Yeah,
times.
I don't know what happened to me, but I seem to be on, I seem to be on it now.
Awesome. How are you today?
Doing good, Tamika. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and yourself? Doing great. It's Friday, so that's a great thing.
It is indeed.
Bob, we want to thank you for joining us today. We're also interested in the commercial reach program that NAR has, that you work with, and we're really interested to understand how it was originally conceived of, the program, and how you all set criteria and determine who should be a participant in the commercial reach program. And we're really excited to have you here. We are featuring on October 1st at our commercial conference. I think Jennifer Wallman, our chairman of the board, chairperson of the board, is going to interview, I think, 6 different commercial reach participants. And we'll get to hear from them directly, but maybe you could give us some information and background on how this whole thing evolved and what we can anticipate from it for the future.
Sure. Yeah, I love to. Just to give me be respectful of everybody's time. How long? I could talk for 7 hours about this. How long would you like me to yammer
How
on about
about
what we're doing?
how about you talk until we interrupt you with questions and comments from the audience, if that works. But you could give us like a 10-minute version right now. That would be fabulous, and then we could maybe do some question or targeted comments from some of our attendees.
Perfect. Great. Yeah, this is awesome. And we, we've been involved with you guys. Well, let me go back to the beginning. So, I'll talk a little bit about, NIR and Second Century Ventures and Reach, and then I'll talk about how kind of I got involved, and then how we spun up the commercial program. So, going sort of all the way back to the beginning, the National Association of Realtors is obviously the umbrella organization, and underneath that, we have a strategic venture fund called Second Century Ventures, and that's been around since about 2007. And the concept there was, hey, let's be on the forefront of tech enablement and tech disruption instead of battling against tech or battling. We don't want to be, disrupted. Why don't we embrace technology and back technology and pick things that are going to do 3 things. One, we want to find solutions that we can then provide to our membership, to our NAR members, that will make their jobs easier, better, more efficient, help them make more money, provide them with better tools, etc. So that's sort of number one, is let's go locate companies, let's find startups, let's find technologies that we can then turn our membership onto to be a value add in their profession. So that's sort of criteria number one. Criteria number 2 is, if we're going to invest in them, we want them to have that be a net positive investment and make money. And thirdly, we want to foster innovation in our industry. And what we're really doing is we're finding, and because we can take the companies, invest in them, and plug them into our membership, we can also raise the tide of technology in our industry. So the 3 points are: 1, let's provide great solutions to our membership. 2, let's help these early stage companies grow through making these introductions. And 3, let's make some money at Second Century Ventures. So a very simple way to explain it is, back in 2008, we found this little company that was trying to do electronic signatures in the legal industry, a little company called DocuSign. And we said, hey, your solution's super cool. And do you know that realtors are always having to sign stuff and closings are a nightmare? And we could probably work with you to pivot or add on to your solution and make it have a real estate practice inside of DocuSign. And we can then turn you on to our membership, and they can become your anchor customer base. And you can get a big discount. Our membership can get a big discount. And then also, not only do we save our members money through the discount, but now we've brought this amazing digital signature solution to our membership. And I don't have to tell people on this phone how terrible it used to be to have to get signatures all the time. So that's like a pretty simple example of kind of the thesis in action of what we were going to do. So we did that from about 2007 to 2013. And then what we saw was, a lot of the companies and a lot of the solutions that we like were earlier than what we wanted to do at the sort of venture level, but we wanted to get involved with them. We needed to coach them a little bit more, mentor them a little bit more, get them a little earlier exposure. So at that time in 2013, we launched the REACH program. So REACH, we used to call it the REACH Accelerator program. We've kind of backed off the word accelerator because it kind of doesn't do us a lot of good in the industry. People kind of think that we're then, they'll say, well, we're too far along to go through an accelerator. So we've kind of dropped that because we're very late stage. I'll get to that in a minute, but we call it kind of the accelerator. I'm sorry, we call it the REACH Scale Up program now. So in 2013, we started bringing in about 8 companies a year, and we would invest a small amount of money in them. And then what we would do, and Paul, you've done this, and you guys are doing it on October 1st, we programmatically put them through a 7-month program from April to November. We bring them to a bunch of industry events. We connect them to people like you guys. We connect them to like SIOR and CCIM. And, we just did the IOI Summit in Dallas. We're going to the C5 Summit in New York next week. So we get them industry contacts. We take them to events. We set up strategic partnerships. We set up pilot programs with customers. We help them find venture capital funding. And we put them through a programmatic, 7-month programmatic curriculum, and get them as much exposure, investment opportunities as we possibly can. So in 2013, we started doing that. We were very residential sort of transaction focused. And we had some very, very good companies. BombBomb, which is a big sort of realtor marketing communication tool. Notarize, which is a online notary. We invested in them very early, I think 2013. They just raised like $175 million earlier this year. So, once again, I think any commercial professional knows how much of a pain it is to have to go get a notary republic. And Notary Public. And now you can do that virtually using Zoom and show your ID and, do it virtually without leaving your house. So those are the kind of solutions that we look for. And we were doing that from 2013 up until now. We currently have 8 companies in our program this year. And then it gets to be 2018. And I'll tell my story for a second. I'm a serial entrepreneur, started 3 companies. Then I moved over to the investment side. I was running a prop tech accelerator in Chicago called Elm Spring. You guys are in Florida, so a lot of you are in Florida. So you guys might know Kin Insurance, KIN. They have a big presence in Florida now. They were one of my companies at Elm Spring. They're going public now for about 1.3 billion in a scant 5 years. So Kin is very, very active in Florida, Texas, and somewhere else, Louisiana. And then now they just bought a sort of dormant insurance company that is licensed in the other 47 states. So now they're going to go national. So Kin was one of my big success stories. So I was running that program for 3 years, and Second Century Ventures acquired the Elm Spring Accelerator. and brought me on because I was picking a lot of commercial solutions. And I was then in 2019, and this is when I met Paul for the first time. I was tasked with now doing what we had been doing and finding the residential solutions. In 2019, we launched our first Reach commercial class. So I'm looking for solutions that are in the commercial side of the house of real estate for our program. And then very similarly, we want them to be value add for our membership. We want them to be value add for our other affiliates. We want to invest in them, make them grow. Now, the difficulty, or I guess difficulty is a strong word, but the challenge or the fun is that I'm very far flung when I talk about what is a commercial real estate solution. So, for instance, you guys are going to see some of them here on October 1st, but we have a valuation solution. We have a commercial insurance solution. We have amenities for multifamily housing. We have big data, machine learning, BI solutions for multifamily housing. We have a plug and play co-working space solution called Cove. I know, Paul, you know Obi Wally and I at Wally very well at Delius and Delius Capital. So we have, broker management and a fintech solution for brokers. So we're really trying to something that's really wacky. We have co-living, co-housing, like a high-end Airbnb kind of solution called Trove. So we kind of get to spread our wings a little bit and pick companies that do a lot of different things. They're not just on the transaction side, but we also have a company like ProDeal that is a deal room for the buying and selling of commercial real estate. So anywhere from them all the way down to things that get a little weirder, like machine learning, business intelligence for the marketing of multifamily housing. So we're pretty far flung in what we do, and you guys will meet a bunch of them. That's super cool.
Yeah, Bob, one of
Yeah.
them that I've talked to a few times and introduced is going to be at our commercial conference on October 1st is Lex, which I think is a really interesting concept. People are familiar with REITs and they're familiar with having to put a lot of quote skin in the game when it comes to investing in commercial properties. But this is kind of, brings it down to a more direct level. And there are ways that realtors can participate in it. You want to talk a little bit about Lex? Will learn more on October 1st, but it's a really interesting concept, and I've enjoyed speaking with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lex is really okay. So I'm gonna answer this a little philosophically, and then I'll get into the details for you, Paul, and the audience. So generally, maybe I'm not very smart sometimes, but I like things that I can just kind of understand right away, and it's not overly complicated. Because I find the ones that are overly complicated really have a hard time getting traction. And Lex is one of the bigger, giant, like $1 billion type ideas that we've taken. So this is what Lex does, and I'm going to try to explain it as simply as possible. I'm a family office, and my father was the patriarch of our family. This is not me. I'm just using this as an example. And my father invested in a bunch of multifamily housing properties in New York, and he has put together a portfolio of a decent hunk of commercial real estate, and he's made our family very wealthy, and that's fantastic. And then my father gets older, and he passes away, and now goes into a trust. And I've got 5 brothers and sisters, and one of them just kind of just wants their money out. They don't really want to own real estate, but 4 of us kind of want it. And they're sort of, what do we do now? Because the only way to sort of get liquidity is to liquidate part of your portfolio, and it's very expensive and inefficient to kind of go and refinance that to get cash out to pay out my one sibling who kind of wants to be paid out. So that's sort of let's just use that as our example. So what Lex can do is Lex can say, hey, we can come with institutional capital, but passive institutional capital, and we will buy, let's say, 20% of your portfolio or 20% of a building, and we're going to put that money in, and now you, the family office, can pay out your sibling who wants to start a winery. I just made that up. and now you've got passive capital in your cap stack that we at Lex have brokered for you. And then now you've solved an inefficiency, and your family office is thrilled that they got liquidity on something that generally would be very expensive and kind of a pain to do. So then what happens is Lex and or the institution that Lex worked with to buy that 20% slug, then take that, and they have already a relationship with NASDAQ, and they also have a relationship with brokerages, like they're working with, a relationship with Fidelity and people like that, where now you can take that 20% slug and you can essentially sell pieces of that individually to the retail market. So basically, Paul could go to his brokerage and go to the Lex platform inside that brokerage, or go to that, however that is going to be listed, and say, I'm making up a address, 4000 North Mozart in Chicago. I, for as little as $250, could buy $250 of 4000 North Mozart and own a little piece of real estate. So what people have done in the past is when they do this, maybe they buy a building that has a Starbucks in it, and then they like to go to their social media and take a picture of them outside of the Starbucks now that they own a little bit of a tiny piece of equity, and then they get the cash flows of the equity, and they're part of the LP stack on that capital. So it kind of democratizes real estate investing. It makes the entry level much lower. You can do individual properties or a portfolio of properties instead of going through just a big massive REIT, which is kind of what I tend to do. And you can do it for a small amount, right? Like some of the real estate I invest, doing, the minimum is $25,000 or $50,000 to get involved with, CA Ventures or Harrison Street or Waterton or somebody like that. Where now at the retail level, through my own brokerage account, just like I buy a stock, just like I buy some Tesla stock, I can now buy and own and trade Class A institutional level real estate through the Lex platform.
So, Bob, let me ask you, not like it sounds like you have a very good depth of understanding of the Lex program. What about those qualified investor rules and those documents that have to be signed when you enter into one of those limited partnership interests? Does this avoid all that paperwork, or
Yeah,
accredited investor and all?
Yeah, Stephen, I believe now this would be a better question for John, and I haven't asked that question because I assume that my assumption, my assumption would be this: it's through your brokerage account. Like once this is up and running and spinning, you go into your Fidelity account, and just like you would buy Amazon stock, you could buy into this, let's call it, a retail REIT. So the rules would apply just like any other retail investment. So I do believe that they've taken the barriers of entry down like that, where they've done all of the FINRA compliant filings, where this is a retail focused product for consumers. So I believe they do take all of those barriers of entry off the table.
Well, that is huge, because the amount of paperwork that's required to do one of those limited partnership investments is very tedious. So
Yep.
I think that's a fabulous breakthrough of that paper.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's one of the more ambitious ones that we've really kind of backed. They're I'll let them tell you, but they're raising a significant amount of money on a significant valuation. They're very well tied in New York. They're all New York guys. They've got some very large, well-known, successful backers. And this is actually a pretty good jumping off point to kind of explain one of the other things that you had asked was, kind of what qualifies companies, or how do I look at companies to be eligible for the program. We get about 250 applications. So I talk to probably, on average, about a company a day during the year. Our program, like I said, we run it from April to November. Then we'll open up applications and formal applications in December. We'll get applications in December, January, February. We start interviewing in February, March. We whittle it down, and then we make eight, 9 this year, but usually 8 offers, and then we kick off in April. So, but I look at about 200, 250 companies during the year, and then we only end up with 8, so it's highly competitive. So, what we are not is we are not like some of the words, we are not an incubator, we're not an accelerator, we're not an early stage program, we're not Techstars, fantastic program, but we're not that. We're not, hey, come to Chicago and we're going to put you through a programmatic step-by-step sort of business 101 business discovery type program. We're not that. We do all of our curriculum at events and virtually. What we're really doing is we're taking companies. This is kind of how I explain it to people. You have an idea, you built a thing. Some people early on care about that thing. You've probably got a little bit of investment, up to maybe you've gotten a lot of investment. You've got early traction, or perhaps you're doing 5, 10, $15 million a year in revenue. Sort of the sweet spot, I think, for our earlier companies is, we're doing $500,000 in revenue. We have an eye towards $1 million in revenue. That's kind of about as early as we go. Although we have one company that I think you guys are having talk, Otso, which I adore. They were our earliest company this year, and they may end up being the most successful. So I think I have a pretty good eye for companies, but I guess I'm saying that we're not like early, I have an idea, Bob, can you help me suss out my idea? I'm like, nah, you kind of got to do that yourself. And then you're going to come to me and say, hey, I had an idea, I built the thing, it's kind of working, and now I want you to come in and sort of plug me into everybody that I need to know to really just get that flywheel going, where I'm just rolling this out and just acquiring customers and meeting the strategic partnerships I need to have and getting the investors that I need. I'll give you a great example with what you guys did. Is we had Cartofront last year, and now on the Miami MLS, if you are on your MLS and you're looking at a home, there's a little picture of a raindrop. And I'm sure all of you know how terrible flood insurance is. You can click on that little raindrop now right on the Miami MLS, and you will get all of your flood information, and that is provided by the Cartofront platform. So that is like the perfect value add of what we want to do. They had already built that whole thing. They were already doing some flood insurance. And then when I saw it, I knew Jason. I know Liz, obviously, Liz Sturrock. So I called her and I said, hey, Liz, I think I found a great solution that I think really fits the Miami market. And she's like, hey, I'd like to meet him. And then they got together and they ran a pilot. And then now he's rolling that out to a bunch of other MLSs. So if he came to me and said, hey, I'm kind of thinking about doing this flood insurance thing, and then I would say, hey, Liz, he's kind of thinking about doing a flood insurance thing, Liz would be like, well, that's great, but unless he has a thing, like, bring it to me like when it's fully baked. So we play much later than people sort of perceive that we play, or until we explain it. But what we are is we're about scale. We're about making you big. So, I would say of the 250 that I talked to, I would say 150 of those, I'm always like, hey, you're a little too early for us. Let us know once you got it built and you got some early traction, and then, keep me posted and let's have a discussion. But we're looking for things that are kind of, fully baked, early traction, and we're all about the scale. So that's kind of the criteria of what I'm looking for. So then I can call you guys and I can say, hey, I think I got one that you guys are going to find interesting. And you guys aren't like, geez, Bob calls me with this early crap all the time that doesn't do me any good. And where I bring you something and you're like, wow, that is a need. That is a problem we have. Let's get together and solve it.
We're all about integration and syndication. And since you mentioned Cartofront, which is a great example of integration into our MLS, so that people have sort of one stop. We do that obviously with RPR and some other tools. Another example is that I think we were the first association to syndicate our list to COEO, which is great for people that need smaller spaces. They want to lease out office or retail. I often recommend that site because they work with a lot of co-working spaces. And most of the co-working spaces, we've worked with Serendipity and WeWork and some of the others, they do pay a pretty good commission. So a lot of times it's a split of 10%, and you can ask for rights for the future with those tenants. So the point is that COEO and CartoFront and several of the other ones that we've worked with at the association. It's a lot about being able to incorporate them and educate our members on these new tools and these new applications.
Yeah, and Paul, I'll just thank you again with how you and I met. I flew down, I think, right when I had taken the role in early 2019, and then later that year we brought a bunch of our graduates down and did one of your guys' events, and now on October 1st, you're embracing our companies. I mean, you guys have been so supportive of what we're doing, and that's kind of what makes our program so special. Is when somebody when I'm recruiting a company and they're like, hey, tell me about what you can do for me. And then I can sort of point to all the successes. So you guys have been, I mean, Miami has been an amazing resource and so supportive of us. We appreciate that. And, I think that when the good thing is I don't feel like you're just doing me a favor or I'm bothering you. Like you guys have been super supportive, but I think the win-win is I'm bringing you cool solutions that, like I said in the beginning, it's a win-win for you. It's a win-win for me. It's a win-win for your membership. Like everybody in the ecosystem is getting better solutions, better technologies, integrations, more efficiencies. And that's kind of why we exist.
Yeah, and real quick, I'd be remiss not to mention that Jennifer Woolman, who's our chairman of the board, is very involved, and she's going to be moderating and having the conversation with at the commercial conference. Is going to with a lot of these reach companies. We have 4, which we could talk about. I don't know if we'll have time, but. And also Liz Sturrock, who used to work at NER and is our chief creative officer here and working on our MLS and a lot of technology, is very involved with it. And my president next year is going to get involved as well, Michael Hinton. So keep your eye out for that name. Stephen, you had something. And of course, we have Tamika and Lenny's here if they also have questions or anyone in the audience.
Yeah, Bob, I wanted to ask you if people wanted to get in touch with you with your company, if they had like a concept that they wanted to just introduce to you and see what your thoughts were. How's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, and it's a good story, but I have maybe the easiest email address in the world. I live in Chicago, so my email is bob@chicago.com.
I don't think any of us, no one is going to forget your email address. That's
So yeah, that was a good one. So yeah, bob@chicago.com. I love hearing, we love to hear from people with ideas. I also love to hear from people who are like, hey, I saw one of your companies. I'd love to get connected. Also, like Jennifer Woolman, like when we go to these events, Jennifer will actually mentor. We do what's called mentor sessions, and we will have practitioners sit down with our companies, from say, 9 to noon on, the day before an event or the day of an event when there's no other programming. And we will do mentor sessions. Well, you can sit down for a half an hour from 9 to noon and do a one-on-one with 6 of our companies and learn about them and the value that our companies get. One, you get to learn about a bunch of new tech. But what we really love is when Jennifer can give them the perspective of the practitioner or the association and say, hey, you're telling me that this is what your product does, but that's not going to resonate with your target audience because this is how we think about it. Or you're early and you're positing that I think this is my problem, but this is what I think my problem really is. So perhaps you could change your messaging of your product to talk about it in this fashion. And also, I know 2 people who really might be able to help you. And then so it's really a community that gets built up around our program. And Jennifer has been a mentor several times. But I love to hear from people who are like, hey, Bob, would love to be a mentor and meet some of your company. So I love those emails. I love, hey, I've got a startup that I saw that I think is really, really cool. I love people when they call me up and say, hey, Bob, this is what I do, and I've got this problem. Do you know anybody I should be talking to? So I'm sort of part of my role is air traffic control of all of these incoming and outbound requests and leads. And I try to I think I'm a pretty good connector.
So Bob, I can call you with my problems.
You can call me with your problem, Paul. I'll take personal trouble from you. I'll take a personal problem with you and discuss. That's how much I like you.
You won't charge me $150 an hour?
I'm a little bit higher than that, but for you, I got a cut rate discount.
There
for
was
you, Paul.
A catch somewhere. Is there anyone else, Tamika, Lanis, David, that would like to ask a question or discuss their issues in the industry that need solving?
No, hi everybody, David Boat right here. I'm a broker associate here in Panama City Beach, Florida. I'm one of those guys you talked to, Bob. I'm a CEO startup for socialstackpro.com. We just launched at the Florida Expo, and we're trying to help realtors solve a more be more efficient with social media. A lot of realtors, in my experience, are not even on the business side of social media. They're losing out on a lot of business, and I feel like there's other big tech out there trying to get us to pay for leads, and I'm trying to get us agents to work harder to get their own leads. So that's kind of one of our big missions.
I would love to hear from you. And then, we have the Reach residential program, which you may be a better fit for, but that's Kia, who's just my counterpart. I talk to Kia every day. I talked to him this morning. So reach out to me, and you and I can talk. And then I was remiss not to mention this earlier. We started with the Reach residential program. I run Reach commercial, and then we launched in 2020. We launched Reach Australia. We've also launched Reach Canada and then Reach UK. So we actually have 5 programs now. But I can definitely get you the appropriate person if it's more of that sort of realtor residential transaction or residential marketing real estate agent type solution. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you. And then it's the kind of thing with your solution, like, we have active pipe as our portfolio. So, is that a strategic partner of yours? We've got, oh geez, there's another one, Amarkai. We've got another one, we have 140 companies in our portfolio now. So when we see a solution, we're like, I can look at something now and be like, oh, I know the 4 people that I should talk, I know 4 people I should introduce you to, like, right now. So we've just kind of got that,
Awesome. Yeah.
we have that ability to do that kind of stuff, which is
How do I reach
great.
out to you, or is there a way to how do I?
Bob@chicago.com.
All right. All right, got it.
Hi, Bob.
And
How are you? I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. Let's go ahead.
Hi. How are you? This is Lenis Camacho with Open Real Estate Management. I'm more dedicated to the property management of multifamily, and I heard that you mentioned some services that can be related to the industry, the multifamily real estate management. I'm learning a lot right now. I think it's will be great, to have one place where we can go and find solutions for many problems that we came across during the practice. And I will definitely want to know more about the services in that specific area. So I do have your email, bot@chicago.com.
You got it. And we've got several multifamily housing solutions in the 3 years we've been doing it. So I can definitely connect you. We've got one that's currently doing some pilots right now for multifamily housing marketing. We've got amenity solutions for multifamily housing. We have 3 different amenity solutions. We've
I
got
heard.
tenant engagement solution. So we've got lots and lots of different solutions that are working on the multifamily housing space. I'd love to. Yep, Bob@chicago.com. Also,
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us and teaching us about the products.
love talking to my Florida people. Can't wait to get back together in person with you guys. And next time, hopefully, we can get everybody together. I can bring down the companies and we can all get together and do this live. It'd be fantastic.
Yes, that would be awesome.
I know you're eyeing the winter months. Very strategic of you. Speaking of being strategic, Tamika, we've had some discussions about crypto and Bitcoin and the whole blockchain process. And I know that Bob, between Propi, which is going to be at our commercial conference, but Tamika, what are you hearing out there when it comes to technology and specifically in some of this blockchain Bitcoin? It always, when we had that subject, we certainly had quite a crowd.
Yeah, we did. I mean, I think a lot of people are just still in the learning phases of it. They know what I guess with the crypto and everything, it's the wild, wild west, and they don't know if it's going how it's going to be regulated and what type of systems or anything is going to be put in place. Bob, I mean, do you guys have anything for us with the crypto and everything and how it's going to with the real estate industry and the blockchain? Because I'm still trying to learn more about it as well as it's continuously keep on coming up. And I know that real estate is going to be greatly affected by this. People are cashing out Bitcoin and now buying multi-million dollar properties. Like, how is it going to be controlled, especially being systematically? How is it going to be done with technology and how to bring realtors up to speed?
That is a fantastic question. I'm going to say a couple things about it, and I'm not going to overstate my knowledge of it. I've been messing with crypto for a while. Um, Funny enough, the guy who used to own Chicago.com, who gave me my email address, is one of the biggest crypto players in Chicago. So he's always on the cutting edge of everything. So he was a domainer back in the day. He bought Chicago.com, gave me that email address, and then like in 2011 was like, "Hey Bob, there's this Bitcoin thing." And then at a dinner party, he gave me one Bitcoin. He just gave it to me, and I looked at my phone, and it was like $400 or whatever. And I'm like, "Hey, Josh, do I owe you $400?" And he's a multimillionaire, so he's like, "Nah, don't worry about it." And then I didn't bother backing it up, and because I didn't care. And then now it's that's $47,000 of Bitcoin now. Sounds good. Uh,
Is that
so
Josh?
I'm
Is that Josh at Chicago.com? Because
he would indeed be Josh at Chicago.com.
I
He
think we
would
should
be.
all reach out to him and say, throw us a Bitcoin. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Exactly. Throw a Bitcoin
Also,
over here.
if you really want to get deep, you can because Josh is very tight in. You can email JB at Chicago.com, and that's our governor. You can email Rahm RAHM. That would be Rahm Emanuel, our former mayor. So Josh gave out about 100 Chicago.com email addresses, and I'm not the stature of any of those guys, but he and I are very good friends, so he graciously gave me Bob at Chicago.com. But anyway, so I know just from Josh Metnick in Chicago the little bit that I know. Now, what I can tell you is NAR has in our strategic business initiatives and technology group, we have guys that are looking deeply into crypto, and I really think more and blockchain. Do you guys know Dave Conroy at all? Do you know Dave?
I I
No.
I think I do. Is he a broker down here?
No, Dave Conroy's in he's in New York, I believe, but he's part of.
I'm thinking of a different Conroy.
So Dave Conroy is I have a decent understanding of blockchain and crypto. Dave Conroy can melt your face with his knowledge. So what I might suggest is if you guys are really looking into crypto, I would just invite Dave Conroy to do a talk on crypto and real estate and the intersection and where that's going because I mean and I'm not overstating it. He is terrifyingly knowledgeable and he'll even joke that what he does in crypto is he's a degenerate in what he's doing. He's doing like now he's into yield farming and he's just it's unbelievable. But Dave, I'm certain would be happy to give you guys a talk or a series of talks about where blockchain and crypto is going. And then I believe you guys have Josh from Otso doing your October 1st talk. Josh at Otso, it's the lease guarantee platform, but he's also a guy who is like deeply, deeply knowledgeable about crypto and blockchain and real estate. So if you'd like, if you email me once again at bob@chicago.com, I would be more than happy to connect you to Dave Conroy in our NAR technology group. And Dave is always like his job is to gather and be on the cutting edge of technology and real estate. And I'm sure that he has a presentation that could be a big benefit to your members to start to understand kind of what is this crypto thing? What are tokens versus Bitcoin versus blockchain? What are the two different tech stacks of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and why are they different? And what's a smart contract? And you start to get a bedrock of kind of what crypto and blockchain are. And kind of once you wrap your head around it, you kind of start to get it, and then you get a little more confident. But yeah, I would turn you on to Dave Conroy because he is just so deep into it, and he's and I say this in a loving fashion. He's a super super geek, super dorky guy, and loves technology and loves crypto, and he's a fascinating, great guy to talk to.
And then there's Propi, right, Stephen? Who we have speaking in our crypto panel. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
go ahead, Bob. Do you know you have the line on Propi as well?
yeah, Propi. So they, yes, what they do essentially is they are a platform in which there's a lot of sovereign wealth and foreign wealth that wants to try to get money out of their countries and get it into more stable economies. You know, like if you think about Chinese with their currency, they want to get the money out of there as quickly as possible because their government manipulates their currency essentially, and they feel much safer. People feel much safer getting their money out, and one of the great things obviously is to put it into real estate in the U.S. and Canada. So that's Propi's target market. And what they do is they've created, as you can imagine, when there's that much money floating around and you're a person sitting in, maybe a Far Eastern country and you're a wealthy person and you're trying to buy real estate in, across the world, that is rife with fraud and scams and bad actors and your earnest money going away and all kinds of terrible things can happen. So what Propi does, is that they are a online marketplace for commercial real estate, and what they do is that they are utilizing the blockchain, which is an irrefutable public record of information, and they are utilizing that technology to take out all the fraudulent activity that can happen and putting through these large transactions for real estate utilizing the blockchain distributed ledger technology that blockchain allows you to boy, I'm trying not to get too far down the rabbit hole, guys. Essentially what they do is they utilize the blockchain so everybody has an irrefutable record of what's going on, and it just diminishes the fraud and the fact that your money just goes missing because it's all been tracked on the blockchain and everything is controlled utilizing the Propi platform.
So they're not only facilitating transactions in the Bitcoin space, but just international transactions generally with different types of foreign currency, including Bitcoin.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. So Bitcoin, I don't want to get too far down the path here. Cause it's a whole nother talk and you guys are about to have a panel on it. If you think of, let me try to explain it quickly. The blockchain of Bitcoin is storing information remotely on computers around the world. So very simply, we set up a bunch of servers and we plug them into the Bitcoin network. And when somebody wants to write a piece of information, Bob just gave Paul $50. Well, I can tell my bank that I did that, but my bank could be hacked. It could be that Paul really shouldn't get the $50. It could be that Paul put a false transaction through on my account. A bunch of things can happen. But if it goes on the blockchain, that means that the transaction that Bob gave Paul $50 is broken into billions and billions and billions of pieces, replicated billions and billions of times, and dropped on servers all around the world in fragmented pieces. And then Paul has his personal key, and when he enters that personal key, he's the only one that knows his personal key. He can transmit that personal key to the blockchain, and the blockchain then takes that personal key and tells the blockchain machines all over the world, hey, here's my personal key. Please show me the transaction that Bob gave me $50. And all these machines get that request and they send their tiny little piece of information. They don't have all of it. They just have the tiny piece of information. And Paul, because he's got the key, is the one who's the only one who can get that information all aggregated into that one transaction. So that's what the blockchain is. It's a distributed, worldwide ledger that everybody agrees upon. So if I go hack one machine and change the information on it, it's no longer in sync with all of the other machines that have the information. So you can't have fraudulent activity because everybody else, for lack of a better word, they call bullshit on what's on that machine. And all the other machines are like, no, that's not right. It wasn't $500. It was $50. And everybody else agrees to that. So that's what blockchain is. And then what Bitcoin is all those machines that are doing this work. They get compensated for doing the work of verifying these transactions by getting a little bit of Bitcoin. So you say, hey, I'm agreeing that Bob owed Paul $50. And then the network then gives that machine a little bit of Bitcoin. And then that's how you get coin. So it has utility because you're providing a service for storing and reporting on data. Then why is Bitcoin worth something? Well, we kind of all agree that it's worth something because it provides utility. So it's a little bit like gold and the fact that somebody someday just decided that gold is worth something. And that's kind of why Bitcoin is worth something. But the thing that I like to tell people is it's not magic internet beans. It is a reward for providing true utility of data storage, data retrieval, and data reporting. And then we all have to agree that Bitcoin is worth something, and then we can trade it and sell it and do things. But that's a whole nother story.
It does get
It got
kind of,
quiet. I hope I didn't freak y'all out.
Bob, you kind of led us a little bit far down the rabbit hole. Do you have any, can we have a drink or something that can help us emerge?
Exactly.
Man,
He was very thorough.
and I just touched on it, man. I'm getting into it's, oh my Lord. It's like it's so every time you peel back, you're like, oh, there's a million more different rabbit holes to go down now.
I
It's
will say
fascinating.
that's one of the best ways I've heard it said, shared. So it's probably learned a lot from that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's about the simplest as I can make it. I hope I didn't take you too far down the rabbit hole there, but there's really no other way to kind of get there without getting into it a little bit.
Well, anybody else have more questions? Q&A. Michael Hinton is here. Hello, Michael. You're usually a little more talkative. You got anything for us today?
Hey, everybody. I appreciate it. Sorry, I was in a meeting that started at 11 and it went really long. But the good news is I introduced a new client to Otso and they're going to look into it for a tenant improvement. So really good day so far. But I'm driving and it's not a good time for me to talk, but I appreciate it.
Well, beautiful. I'm very glad that you and thanks you for doing that. I'm sure Josh and Marissa there are very thankful for that. But that's a great solution. They're boy, those two founders are so smart and so on it. They're just a joy to work with.
We have Arjun here. He had something he wanted to ask. Go ahead, Arjun.
Yeah. Hey, Stephen. Thanks for bringing me onto the stage. Hey, Bob. This is Arjun, and that's great information. Thank you. And I have a question. So, like, how does that work? Like, if there is two currencies involved, like, say, like, someone from China wanted to buy like some real estate in US. So, how does that work in terms of blockchain and Bitcoin?
I haven't done a lot of international transacting, but there's a lot of oh man, I don't want to get too far into this again. So what's going on now is there's a new boy. Try not to crush you guys with info here. The big problem with doing crypto transactions and buying something in Bitcoin is that it's worth something today, but by the time the transaction closes, that could be utterly and completely different. So if we agree that I'm going to buy something for X number of Bitcoin, and then we start working through the deal docs, by the time we get time the deal is done, it could be 60 days later, and Bitcoin could have been double, it could have been half. It's too volatile to be used very efficiently in transactions. So there's now a proliferation of what are called stable coins. And what stable coins are, they are not cash. They're not American dollars. They're not Chinese dollars. They are things like Uniswap. That's one of the stable coins. And what they are is they are digital currency. And what they are is they're stable coins that are pegged to the US dollar, let's say. So what you will do is when you do the transaction, or when you set that transaction up, you will take your Bitcoin and you will then convert it into a stable coin that, while still digital, while still not a fiat currency, while still not tied to any government, while it's not in a bank, it's still just internet code. Stablecoin then will not move, so you don't have the volatility of your crypto asset while you're in the middle of a deal. So Uniswap is the one that I personally own. So Uniswap is its own blockchain. It's its own rule set. It's its own code base. but that is how transactions are getting done. And there's a brand new proliferation of stable coins where you are trying to get the volatility out of the Bitcoin, because that's the problem with Bitcoin is I don't want to buy anything with Bitcoin. I want to hold it and invest in it because I think it's going to go up. So why would I ever sell it? Well, now what I can do is I can sell a little bit of it into stablecoin, and it's just like getting dollars, except it's still not dollars. It's still not in my bank account. It's still not money. It's still crypto. And then I can send the stablecoin to them, and then they can do whatever they want with it. They can turn it then into Bitcoin. They can cash it out. They can do whatever they want. But there's a big proliferation now of stablecoin, which is now opening a whole nother thing that's going to happen, which is yield farming and all this crazy stuff that's happening that will really, it's melting my brain. I'm just starting to get into that stuff. But that's kind of how it gets done, is that you put in a stable coin to do the transaction.
Got it. Thanks for that.
It's complicated.
I
And
think
we
some
also
of these
have
platforms,
this.
aren't some of these platforms designed like Propi to kind of help these international and these transactions facilitate?
Yes, so absolutely. So they're doing like the deal docs, they're doing all the banking, they're doing, well, banking is a strong word, but they're handling all of the, the money shuffle to go from your crypto into stablecoin, get the stablecoin from point A to point B, turn the stablecoin back into crypto or cash it in, and then get it to the seller's bank account. So that's what these platforms are doing. And that sounds complicated, and it sounds like it could be, ribbon, fraud, potential for fraud seems very, very high. So there are platforms that are doing exactly that, is making this kind of highly, new cutting edge transaction and transfer of ownership in dollars, safe, secure, and tracked via the blockchain. So that's exactly what Propi and other companies like that are doing, is basically digitizing that entire process, utilizing these new platforms and tools. It's super cool.
Do you have anything, Bob, that you could elaborate about the Miami coin that seems to have emerged in the last few weeks as kind of a hot topic?
There's a Miami coin now.
Yeah, they just came out with it. Apparently, the mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez, pushed for it, and they've created the Miami coin. And for every coin that's minted, the city gets a 30% donation from the minting of the coin. So they're going to integrate that into ways to fund affordable housing and homeless and climate change and this kind of thing. So it's all kinds of
Cool.
innovations going on.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't heard of it. It looks like people can donate money, grow its crypto treasury, and then they can earn STX and Bitcoin. So it looks like you get a little crypto back. I'd have to look into it. I mean, I think that, this stuff is emerging and insane and cool. But it looks like 30% of miners forwarded STX is directed towards a wallet reserved for Miami. Okay. So what you're doing is you're basically mining coin, and 30% goes towards Miami, and then 70% is then stacked, and then you actually get to earn those coins. So, I'd have to, I'd have to definitely look into this. But I mean, like, if you want to, we could start our own coin called Bobby Coin if we want, and then tie it to something and say it has utility. I mean, there's so many coins out there. Altcoins is what they're called. They're sort of beyond the big two are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are the two big ones.
I have to defer to my president. It might have to be called Stephen Coin. I don't know.
Steven, we'll go to Steven Coin. That sounds good. Although there might already be one. We'll have to check. But yeah, if it looks like if you go to citycoins.co Miami coin, and it's got to get Miami coin and start mining today. I'd have to go look and I'd have to go and look at it. But it's super. It's kind of, I mean, there's something new every day. So fascinating.
Well, listen, we really appreciate all your insights that you provided today. I mean, what a deep rabbit hole it actually is with this crypto, but also with the Reach program. You guys have an unending future supply of innovators out there that you can get in touch with. And it sounds like you are doing a fabulous job managing, the contenders and choosing the right people going forward. We're really excited about our October 1st commercial conference, where we're going to have a number of people talking about the crypto space and its impact on commercial real estate, as well as a transportation panel talking about transportation impact, the transportation changes, the trains, the development along the train stations, along the train lines and metro rail. And also we have David Whitaker, who's the um, Greater Miami Visitor and Convention Bureau CEO, is going to talk about Miami and things happening here. So, and then the Reach panel that Jennifer Wallman's going to moderate is going to be really good. So you've got us stacked up and primed to hear, I think, all of that from a better perspective, Bob, based on everything that you told us today.
Well, you guys, as I've said a couple of times already, you guys have been so supportive of us. Our program doesn't work without people like you guys embracing our companies. I'm thrilled that I can be uncovering these great solutions that you guys are interested in. Because as soon as I stop, providing you guys with good solutions, then why would you guys care? So I'm glad that I'm getting the feedback from you guys that you're interested in what we're doing, which is fantastic. Make sure you send me an invite, at least for my people session, so I can at least listen into what they're doing on that panel. I'd love to hear it, and I think you guys will find it fascinating as they dig into what they do. They're all so different and clever and creative and disruptive. It's you can't tell when I'm talking. I mean, I love what I do. I'm one of those people who, I like every day I go to work. I thoroughly enjoy what I do. And it's so great to have other people embrace it and help us and really being a win-win for everybody involved. So just appreciate you guys as well.
Tamika, you have anything else for us today?
No, I mean, this is a really great conversation today. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. I learned so much today. Thank you so much, Bob, for coming on the app today.
Love to do it, and I will talk to you guys soon. Really enjoy October 1, and I will hopefully be able to make that. And you guys you're gonna love it. I mean, you're gonna love it. You're gonna find what our companies have to tell you. Just fascinating on the things that they're working, and they're just smart people. And we just all got together in Chicago on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they're just good people, and they're good human beings, and you know, um, it's fantastic. I'm really glad you guys are doing that thing on October 1st. I saw all those um, invites coming. I was just like you guys were sending them out and copying me on it. And I was like, oh, I got one. I'm like, oh, that's cool. They're engaging with one of our companies. And then a second one, and then a third one. I'm like, oh, look at Miami. How awesome is this? So it was really made my day. It was fantastic.
And I also thank you, Bob, and also want to thank Paul Cauchi and the Miami Realtors team and the professionals who set this up to engage with you today, Bob, and also setting up the commercial conference October 1st. It's been amazing. As my friend and colleague Fernando Arancibia told me in Orlando, we matter because we are Miami. So kudos to Miami Realtors for bringing the power to that it wields to its members. We really appreciate them. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for attending
Have
today.
a great.
Thank you, Bob. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. So let's go ahead and just close it out for today. So you guys enjoy the rest of your
Thanks,
weekend.
guys. Appreciate Steve
All
and
right.
Paul for the invite.
Thank you. Thanks, Tamika. Thanks,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Take care.